Hey everybody, it's Julie the Whippy Chick here, and I am here to share with you my 10 tips to help you crochet faster. So let's get started. All right, 10 tips to help you crochet faster. Tip number 1, whether you are working from a written pattern or a video tutorial, I think it's a great idea to either read through the entire thing or watch the entire video. Because sometimes there's some things in there you're unaware of, okay? For example, one time I was working on this square for a blanket that I was making, and it was part of a crochet along, and I was on probably square number 8. And I thought, oh, I've got this down. It's going to be just like all of the other 7 squares, right? So I kept working at it and working at it, and my numbers kept coming out wrong. I frogged this thing 4 different times before I decided, you know what, let's go back and just watch the entire video. Sure enough, I'd been doing it right the entire time. It was supposed to be that way. So don't be goofy like this girl. Watch the entire video first, or like I said, read the entire written pattern first. Okay, let's look at tip number 2. Keep a little pencil bag or a little pencil box with you with your entire project that has all of the stuff that you need for that specific project with you. I have an example right here, actually, with my project bag that's over there. So I have my little project bag. It's got everything that I need in it for that specific project. It's got a nice pair of scissors. It's got my row counter. Let's see what else is in this goodie bag. I've got a pencil because I'm keeping track of things on my pattern. I've got the hook that I've been using for this entire project. What else? Oh, and I've got some needles here for weaving in my ends for this particular project. So it's good to have a little bag of tricks, of supplies, really, for your project handy, so that if you are moving it from one room to another, or you're taking it out of the house with you, you've got everything that you're going to need right in your little bag. Also, these little bags are super, super cheap and easy to find, like at Dollar Tree stores, or even like the Dollar Plus stores, kind of like Family Dollar and Dollar General. They're usually super cute. They have all kinds of different patterns on them and super cheap too. All right, let's move on to tip number 3. All right, tip number 3, hide your ends without weaving them in. Okay, so there is a way to knot your ends underneath granny square clusters, any kind of granny cluster really, and also corner to corner. Probably some other stitch patterns that would work well for too, but these are the ones that I know for sure. So I do have a video for that. And if you want to learn how to do that, go ahead and check it out. I have found this works really great for graph gans because the color changes are unbelievable. Also, any kind of granny square, usually there's lots of color changes. So save yourself some time. Forget about weaving in those ends. Just hide your knots. Okay, let's move on to tip number 4. Tip number 4, count your stitches when you're a beginner, or if you're a beginner at a new pattern or a new project that you've never done before. It is so much easier to find your mistake right away when you've counted your stitches at the end of every row. You know how many stitches you're supposed to have. If you don't have that number, then you know you've done something wrong. It's much easier to do it then than do 10 rows of really wonky looking rows and thinking, I made a mistake somewhere. I just don't know how far back to frog it to fix the mistake. So yeah, count your stitches. I know it's tedious, but in the long run, it can save you a lot of time. All right, let's move on. Tip number 5. Okay, tip number 5. Make sure you have enough yarn to finish your project. Oh, I can't stress this one enough because I was working on a blanket once. Hang on, let me grab the blanket because it happens to be sitting right there. Ha, here it is. I saw a picture of this blanket on Instagram, and I was like, I've got to make that blanket. Did I find a pattern for this blanket? No. So what I ended up doing was doing a screen grab of the picture and blowing it up so big so I could kind of see how it was put together. So I did know what kind of yarn they used, and I went and found some of that yarn. However, they only had 3 skeins of it, and they weren't even very big skeins. So I had the yarn to get started, but I thought, I can find it in any Joann's. I can find it at Michael's. Nope. I went to every store I could think of in like an hour radius of where I live, and I could not find this particular Red Heart yarn. I ended up having to search the internet for it and finally ended up finding enough of it on 2 or 3 different eBay sites. So that story being said, make sure you have enough yarn to finish your project. Okay, let's see what number tip we're on. Number 6, tip number 6. Oh, crochet apps. Okay, so there are lots of crochet apps out there. Everybody knows there's an app for everything, right? Same is true for crochet and most other crafts. There are a few that I recommend more than others. My current favorite is called Love Crafts. Is that right? Love Crafts Crochet. It's on the little card here. And the other one that I really like a lot is Crochet Dictionary. Both of these are really great apps. Love Crafts Crochet even has like row counters, and lots of links to tons of patterns. And I do mean tons of free patterns. And the other one, Crochet Dictionary, any stitch you can think of, it's got a video demonstration for it. So really great apps. I do have a video playlist that covers lots of different crochet technology. So if you want to check that out for more of those helpful apps, you can find those there on my playlist. All right. And there's actually a link on this slide. Now, obviously, I know you can't touch that link, but if you go over to my website, www.whippychick.com, all of my slideshows with tips and tricks and patterns are all over there. They're all free. There's no ads. Go ahead, go over there, and you can click on anything you want. All right, let's move on to tip number 7. Here we go. Hey, it looks like I forgot to change the number. Well, we don't have 2 number 6s. We have tip number 7. So choose the right hook for your project. There are certain yarns out there that everybody says, oh, I hate that kind of yarn. It's splitty or it's really hard to work with. And a lot of times what really you need to do is not change your yarn, but change your hook. I know that when I use a certain kind of yarn that's really splitty, if I switch to an inline hook, that usually solves the problem. Also, there's a yarn called homespun, and so many people dislike this yarn and say that it's hard to work with that it's actually acquired a nickname called hellspun. I've heard this nickname before. But really, if you just up your hook size to work with that yarn, you might find that you have more luck. So before you give up on your yarn, try a different hook. Okay, tip number 8. Oh, now this one says 7. I don't know. These are all numbered wrong, but we're just going to go with it, okay? All right, so the next tip is stitch markers. These guys are your best friend, especially if you're working in the round. Oh my goodness, it keeps track of your rows. If you lose your stitch marker when you're working in the rounds, you know. If you've been there, you know you are so lost, okay? But stitch markers are also really good for holding your work in place. So when you get to a point in your project where you need to set it aside, put a little stitch marker on the end of your last loop there, and none of your stitches are going to come out. You know, no matter who gets a hold of it, whether it's the toddler or the kitty cat, you're good. You're good. No, your stitches are not going to come undone because you've got a stitch marker holding them in place. So that's 2 reasons to love stitch markers. The last reason is that they're so cute. They're really cute. Some of them are really cute and collectible. So check out your stitch markers. All right, our next tip. I've given up with the numbers because clearly I've numbered these rungs when I created the slides. The next tip, check your workspace and position. Are you comfortable? Is your yarn constantly falling on the floor and you have to keep picking it up? Did you leave your scissors in the other room and now you've got to go find them? How about the remote for the TV? Is it too loud? Do you need to turn it down? And oh, the remote's way over there. Do you have your drink handy? All these things are going to help save you time because you don't have to get up and take care of things. Make sure you've got all your stuff together and that you're comfy and all ready to start on a nice long project. Okay, next tip. Yeah, see, now I've skipped from 8 to 10. I don't know. Anyway, this tip is called the Chainless Foundation. The first row is the hardest. Am I right? All those long, especially in a blanket, all those long chains and you've got to stitch into each one of them and they can be so fiddly and be twisted and just a regular pain in the hoo-hoo. Right? Am I right? So what I like to do is try a chainless foundation. You get your first row done at the same time you're making your chain. Now there's lots of tutorials out there to do this. I actually don't have one on my channel, but like I said, all you have to do is a little YouTube search for chainless foundation and you will find a plethora. There's also different ones for single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. There's probably more out there. I don't know. Those are the ones I'm aware of. So give it a search and save yourself some time dealing with those fiddly, stinky, rotten, pain in the neck first rows. All right. And I think I've got a bonus tip for you. I do. The bonus tip, practice, practice, practice. Crochet is just like everything else. The more you practice, the better you're going to get. Okay, everybody, those are my 10 tips plus a bonus of how you can help yourself to crochet faster. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, click like, subscribe, like and subscribe. You know, all the YouTube-y stuff. And come back and see me at whippychick.com and check out all of the other slideshows I've got for you. And with that, everybody, I hope you have a great, great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.